Um, you guys there?
Yep, we're here. Sorry, the phone locked.
No, not a problem at all. Okay, I guess you couldn't get on through Elite Two A Pay, which is fine. I pinned your email. Sorry, the website at the bottom, so people can go find it after. But yeah, so let's get into it.
All right. Well, hey, let us breathe for a second. That was chaotic, but no, we're good. I'm just teasing. What's up,
Oh
you?
no, there's no room for
I
breathing. You'll do that when you're
know.
dead.
Um,
Um, Anyways, okay, so you guys are with Elite 2A Pay. It's a credit card processing company devoted to the Second Amendment world, or really any business, but you know, the branch that we're talking about is Elite 2A Pay. So how did you guys decide, or what made you guys decide to do a company that devoted to the Second Amendment world? Because there are tons of credit card processing companies out there, and no one is really doing. I mean, there might be one or two that are doing it, but no one's really doing what you guys are doing to that extent. So, what got the ball rolling?
So I'll take this one. Elite started a long time ago, and we've always looked at getting into specific verticals, right? Where your hotels, dealerships. Um, in the last, I would say, I don't know, 4.5 years, we looked at getting into a specific vertical that made sense for us as a business and for what's going on in the world, right? Where the 2A space is they get picked on for so many different reasons, right? And processing is one big one. So we looked at it as, hey, we're passionate about it from a personal standpoint. I mean, you know me very well at this point. You know that I'm an avid shooter. It's what I do literally weekly, daily. So we looked at it from our passion, and then what was out there, like you just said, is there's two or three real options. So that allows us to stand out, right? Because if you look at the entire US, how many processors there are. There might be thousands, right? But only a very few of those can do stuff for guns. So that was kind of the catalyst to get into where we're at now. And then from the start, from the go, Paige was a part of it a couple years ago, is we just seen just a massive kind of outcome from it. People know that we're legit. They like us. We like them. And shows, as you've seen us in action, it's gone well. So that's kind of the catalyst of it is Elite's been around for 22 years, but the gun side, probably within the last 4 or 5, is really when we started going strong.
All right, so you guys started it. You said that there's companies that that have issues in the gun world, right? That they're being picked on. What do you mean by that?
So guns, for so many different reasons, are frowned upon. Even though it is our 2A right? That's kind of a play on words. There's companies like ours that will look at them as what's called high risk, right? And high risk is vape shops, CBD, adult entertainment, travel. I mean, the list goes on, right? But you could see that those are legitimately high risk. There's higher chargebacks. There's more things that happen from when you sell those products. Whereas in guns, you don't get too many chargebacks. You don't have people going through a 4473 and then saying, hey, I didn't buy that gun. It just doesn't work that way. So these other companies charge higher costs, right? Where a typical retail should be in like the 2 to 3%. These companies are charging 5, 6, even upwards of 7%. Where we're now saying, hey, don't pay double or triple. Come with a company like us, we'll accept you as a normal retail environment versus high risk. So that was the big reason, right? Is these companies are paying way more than they should, or they're even getting kicked off, or their money's being held or froze. I mean, there's a lot of variables that happen for these companies that look at them as a no-no.
What do you mean by they're being kicked off, or what? What do you mean
So,
by that?
so there's certain processors that will accept them from the get-go, where they might kind of slide through as like sporting goods, or some sort of kind of gray area that's not specific to guns. And once they actually start doing their They do like an audit once an account's up and running. It could be a few months from when it started or years later. And if they start to see that, hey, they're selling something that they said they weren't from the get go, they'll kick them right off their platform. Straight up kick them off.
All right, so you're saying that a lot of these credit card processing companies aren't doing their due diligence and just will accept them and then find out later that hey, we're selling guns or ARs, let's say, and we're like, well, screw you, we don't want to do business with you.
100%. So there's different kind of granular levels to it. Where let's say a company, and am I allowed to say certain names? Does it matter on here? I mean, I
I
don't know.
mean
Who
that. I
cares?
mean,
Whatever.
yeah, it's not
They can come find me. I don't care. So
exactly.
Stripe, right? Stripe is a company out there that's big for an online presence, right? Stripe has certain rules of what they want a merchant to follow, and some of those rules can be, hey, you could post this type of picture of a gun, but you can't post a picture of an AR. You start putting pictures or banners on your website of an AR, and they do their audit, and they see that, they'll shut you down immediately. So it's not just about just guns in general. It's there's certain specifics that they don't like. They don't like out the front knives, right? If they see that you're selling folders and then all of a sudden down the road you're selling automatics, they'll shut you down in a heartbeat. So it's a mix of things that they'll do, and it's not just one reason. There's layers of it.
Are there any credit card processing companies that will, or have you heard? Because you know a lot more about this than I do. Maybe Paige, you've heard, but are there any companies, credit card processing companies, that will take a gun company knowing full well what they do, and then out of nowhere they're like, you know what, we're anti-gun now, so we're dropping you.
You want to go ahead?
Yeah, so in my experience, I've got people that things change all the time where it's either going to be they accept you guys and then you'll start processing 6 months down the road. Now all of a sudden they're anti-gun because everything's changing, and you just don't know who it's going to be. Um, Now there's some people that'll say, yeah, we support the firearms industry, but which means they won't drop you. You'll be processing with them, fine, they won't drop you, but they're going to make you pay for it, in other ways. So it's kind of like, are they true Pro 2A? It's you got to bet them out and see if the pricing's matching up to Pro 2A pricing, or if they're just taking you on so they can tax the hell out of you. So
Right. So you're so okay. So can you just expound on that a little? You said that they instead of just dropping you, they'll just tax you more. They just add. So what do you mean by that?
some people think that they're with a company that's Pro 2A because, well, they said they support the Second Amendment. They took me on. There's no stipulations behind it. We're good. But then you get their statement, you look at it, and you find out that they're putting in like high risk processing costs all throughout the statement. And a lot of times it's hidden, where we'll find it, cushioned in with what we call basis points. They'll put it in with the interchange costs. There's, things that people that don't do this for a living, hell, I barely, there's a lot of things that I have to come to Adam for and have him check it out because that people hide things in there. And once we're able to like reveal it and show people, yeah, they're not going to drop you, but they're also not giving you a Pro to a true cost, that we would. We treat people like a mom and pop t-shirt shop down the road. We're not going to treat someone like they're selling, you know, I don't know. Well,
Yeah, but not so good things, right?
yeah,
Like
right.
the things that I had mentioned before, the CBD, the vape, the adult stuff, that is legitimate high risk stuff, or that does need higher costs involved because of the high probability of what's called chargebacks, right? Where someone's going to call in and say, "Hey, I didn't make that charge." You know, the husband who got caught who bought maybe some adult stuff online, he's going to call his processor and say, "I didn't do that." And that's a recurring theme for high risk business. Whereas in guns, chargebacks, that ratio is very low. But I do want to rewind back to something you asked Yehuda
Yeah,
about
absolutely.
getting on and then getting kicked off. So the major banks, B of A, Wells, Chase, all of them did initially accept them under the sporting good category. And then just within the last 2 years or so, they started dropping them like flies. So that's a prime example of a big named banks that did take them on initially, but then started doing their audits and then they started kicking them off. I
Okay.
have Go ahead.
So it's not just credit card processors that are dropping companies for being pro 2A. It's banks as well.
So banks can act as process. They have a division that does processing as well. So I know that sounds funny, but banks also do processing. So yes,
Okay.
to your question point,
So I'm guessing the bank you use is not one of the big ones.
it's not one of those ones. It is a company or it is a bank that is out here in Texas that allows us to do what we do. So yes.
All right. So if someone would sign up, not only are they going to get the, like you said, normal retail store rates, not high risk rates, but they also know that they're not going to be dropped because you guys are shooters and pro 2A, and as well as the bank you use is a pro Second Amendment bank.
That is the major component there is as much as we like to shoot and we are cool or whatever you want to call us, if the bank behind us isn't backing it, then it does none of it matters. So all those other companies like Paige mentioned that say Pro 2A, their back end, their bank says, we'll allow it, but you have to charge X amount in order for them to come on board. And that X amount is usually double or triple or even quadruple what we would charge. So does that make sense? Is
Yeah,
that they're saying
absolutely. Okay, so let's say someone is like, you know what? I'm an FFL. I'm a manufacturer, whatever it is. Again, we're gonna stick with guns, but for those that are watching and tuned in, they don't just do firearms, but we're talking about just the high risk firearms aspect of it. If someone's like, hey, I'm a gun store and hey, Kelly, are you asking me to get tattooed? Because last time people asked my people to get tattooed, it didn't end well for them. Um, if someone decide, yeah, Kelly,
you
gun
need a
badassery,
you need a
gun.
forehead tattoo.
Yeah.
I know, I need one
That
right
looks
there.
so
Yeah,
Yeah, it just
perfect.
says pew
pew
pew.
pew. Yeah.
That's
No,
it.
guns badassery is a longtime friend, and he's been a massive advocate for me and has helped me a lot, and I love him. So I know he's just giving me a hard time because that's what he does, and I love him for that. Um, but if someone wants to sign up, right? Someone approaches you guys, say, "Hey, I've had PayPal hold funds for me. I've had Stripe screw me over. I want to sign up with you. What's the process? What goes into signing up with Elite 2A
I'm
Pay?"
gonna start and then I'll let Paige finish. Is we like to prove ourselves, right? Is we could tell you everything you want to hear, but every one of those businesses that are already processing, whether it's through PayPal, through Stripe, or some of these other, processors, they get, and I literally have it in front of me, so we could I'll block out the name, but they get a statement every month and it shows everything that you could possibly need in order to price them. There's volume, transaction count, size. I mean, the list goes on and on. We don't do this just to say, hey, we're going to undercut the cost. We look at it for a lot of different reasons, but that's the catalyst of things. Send it to Paige. I look at it. I create a proposal. She ends up calling. We do it together, and we show literally this is what you have now versus what you're going to have with us over here. And that's the start to no matter if you're doing 10 million a month or you're doing 10 grand a month. That's the same process for any of those businesses. And then from there, we still say, hey, look, this isn't an absolute. This is just your option of what you can possibly do. And pretty much 9 times out of 10, if not more, it's always a savings. It's just a matter of how much.
All right. Okay. So right. So that was going to be my next question. Is that do you guys have a flat rate that you give everyone, or is it is each proposal, each new company um, designed to cater specifically to the needs of that
All
company?
custom. Every single one of them are custom. We don't cookie cutter it. Everyone is going to have their own pricing plan. And to take that further is, and this is for a lot of the people that are watching and a lot of us consumers or even shooters, is there's businesses that might pass on a cost, right? Or hey, I'm gonna go shoot at your range. I spend $100. They might say, hey, that's 3% on top, it now becomes 103. And so there's different types of structures where sometimes you can wipe away all your fees. So to answer your question, there's no set, hey, this is what it is. It's always custom to whatever the business is. Because if you take a deep dive of the 2A world, we're not just talking to ranges, FFLs, we're talking to manufacturers, we're talking to the guys that actually build the guns, we're talking about the guys that build the barrels, the grips. I mean, we just signed up probably everything I just described within the last week. So all of those businesses are different, right? So pricing is all based off each individual business.
All right. All right. So, trying to think what other, is there anything else that you think is important that people know?
Yeah, and I'll let Paige talk about this, but so Elite started again before the gun thing is we all looked at this whole thing and said, hey, we need to be different. And pricing, anyone can come in and say, I can give you the lowest. And we do see that where they do, but then when you want to call them and get something done, poof, they're gone. So Paige, myself, but I'll let her talk about like that component of things.
I tell people all the time, I get a lot of referrals, and the majority of them come because of my service. Um, we're saving people money, and like Adam said, sometimes it's a lot, sometimes it's not a whole lot, because if you're on a good plan now, then there's not much room for us to come in. But what we do different is we continue with the customer service. I know, especially for me with my reps, with my clients. They all have my cell phone. If they ever need me, I'm literally a text away. I pride myself with that because that's my reputation. And I love it. I love working and helping these people. And every referral that I get, it's like, all right, I did something right there. But, some of these companies the bigger ones, that they'll sign you up, they get a sign up bonus, and they got their money for that deal and they're out. They don't care if they stay with them for 6, 9, a year, 6, 9 months, a year. They don't care about that.
Right.
Whereas we want that long term. We want to build. We want to watch you grow. We want to watch the business do well. We want to, kind of hold your hand through things that maybe are new to you. If you have questions, help you sort through them. We give that kind of mom and pop vibe, but where we have big enough connections to be great at what we do, but we like to keep our service at that boutique style level where when you need something, you get somebody.
Here's something funny, just a little story. It's gonna take a minute. On our way in, we're all driving, and we get a text from one of Paige's clients that he texts. We saw him at SHOT Show. He's gone to dinners with us. The guy, we love him. He loves us. But the point is he's texting us. He got your graphic of I'm gonna be talking to Adam and
Yeah.
Paige, and he says, look, he made a fun comment like you guys look great, whatever. And we're just texting with a client, and he's not like huge. He does decent volume, but like we have those types of dynamics with our merchants where you go anywhere else. And not to say that all of our clients text us and we joke around with them, but when they do need something, we get it done as fast as you
Right.
could possibly imagine. It just doesn't work like that anywhere else. I know because I've seen it and I've been a part of other companies. This is just one of those things where, like Paige said, we pride ourselves on it because yes, we go to SHOT, we see these people, we talk to them, we hang out with them. Our reputation it's everything. We're not big enough to lose clients.
Right. So basically, if someone signs up with you and there's any kind of issues, they're not getting a call center in India. They're getting one of you two directly.
Yep.
Yeah, and then we have a team. I don't want to mess up the camera and ruin things even more like earlier, but the team is literally right outside my window. Great staff. Everyone's literally just, it's one big happy family. Obviously, there's things that happen throughout the day where, things get busy and stressful. It's a normal company, but when a company calls and needs something, whether it's guns or something outside of it, it's instant. It gets done.
Because we're not having to call different branches that are, like you said, in different countries or all over the country. All of our stuff is done right here in house. Or, my tech team, I could play patty cake with them. They're literally 5 feet away from me.
Right.
The owner's office is two doors down. So it's like, if you want that vibe of like, let's go with a company that's going to make us feel good, that's going to treat us the right way and not sign us up and then kick us out and whatever happens. And they don't care if they lose. The bigger guys, they don't care if they lose a company, if they lose a client. Where we do care. We want as many as we can get because we're smaller. We need that. We want those long-term relationships. So I think right even off the first month of going with us, people can tell the difference on how we operate right off the bat every time, and
Right.
they tell us that.
Right. What about this? So to further press the idea of signing up, like you said, it's as easy as just calling you. But I do know that just from talking to people, because in full disclosure, we work together a little. I send you a lot of referrals and stuff like that. And one question that I'm asked and that I see often, and sorry, hear often from people is, well, what's the process of switching over from our old processor to the new processor, right? I know a lot of people are very intimidated, saying that, thinking that it's going to be like this entire circus that is going to end up being confusing, and it's going to hurt their company because they're going to be dead. What's the process of actually switching over to your processor? Whether it's and that means also like whether you're using like who you're compatible with, right? Like authorized.net and PayPal. I mean, you name it, right? Like expand on that.
You want me to take this one?
I can.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so it is an intimidating thing if you think about it, because there's a lot of companies that burn people terribly and they don't ever want to switch ever again. I mean, it really, all it takes is one bad experience with one company for you to say, I'm not going through that again. With us, it's just different. So yeah, there are instances where it's compatibility with, maybe a POS system that we have to get into, which we do, but it may take a little bit, a week longer than usual. But as far as the merchant having to do anything spectacular, it's not the case. We take the ropes on all of it. We completely take over. It'll be assigned to one rep, so they'll be talking to one person throughout the entire setup process. They quite literally hold their hand through the entire thing. In some accounts, it could be as easy as getting it in, the application in, and getting it and approved the same day.
Right.
So it really depends on the case. But as far as it being just a big train wreck of a process, it is not that way with us. We make sure of it. And it's just something that if you've had a bad experience, you have the bad taste in your mouth, but we do things so much differently here. I don't know if you want to.
Yeah, I mean, we designed it that way, Yehuda's, where a lot, like Paige said, is there's other companies that when you sign up, here's a box, plug it in, figure it out. We're gonna provision something here, but when you get it, literally we're going to call you and say, hey, let's go through this and train you and go for it. There are times, like Paige said, where there are point of sales that are way more intricate than just plugging in a machine. But even then, we'll go above and beyond to try and get things figured out. I mean, we have clients right now that might even be listening that are newer, that there's inventory stuff that we need to help with, or there's manual entry. And that's not necessarily something that we have to do, but we want to do it. We want to help. And 9 times out of 10, man, it's usually a flip of the switch. There is that rare instance, but even then we'll go as far as we possibly can.
So
And
what I know this is a question for all the people who might see this, but what sorry, which companies are you compatible with? Like I know you always tell me authorized dot net is basically a switch. Just, flip the switch and you're in. What other companies are you compatible with, so that if someone's not necessarily using authorized dot net, um, and they're wondering, hey, I wonder if these guys would work for us, give me a quick list of other people that it's an easy switch.
I'll do it this way: is well, there's so many. Like if I listed, everyone watching would be like, this is nonsense. I would say it this way: we're probably compatible with 90% of what's out there. So if someone is interested and they want to talk to us, they could let us know. And if that's their worry, they let us know. And we wouldn't even go through getting that statement if we weren't compatible. We'd say, hey, you have only limited options, but the list is pretty long, Yehuda. There's not.
Okay.
Yeah, if I went through it, I mean, auth.net is the one that's known because that's a lot of the e-commerce. Anyone who has a website has to have a gateway.
Right.
Authorized.net or NMI are the two biggest ones that are out there, and those both connect to Gunbroker. So if anyone has that, we could easily. But there's a company called Swipe Simple, Deja Vu. There's Veriphones. I mean, the list just goes.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of point of sales. Clover. A lot of people are starting to.
Let me jump in.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I was gonna, if there's something that we are not compatible with, we are never going to waste anybody's time. I know there's some companies that are like, yeah, we can integrate with that, no problem. They take them through the whole process, sign them up. I don't know how it, necessarily work because they can't integrate. But if y'all are interested and y'all don't know if we are compatible, yeah, just shoot over a statement, and we'll tell you off the bat, hey, we're able to integrate or we're not. So it's that simple, and then you're not having to drag it out or do research. Just give us a call and we can let you know. So
And it's interesting too. She's learned a lot more than being on the front lines and calling and talking to all these companies that have these specific point of sales. She knows a lot. So yeah, just let us know and we'll be very candid and say what we can do and what we can't.
even if it's just a question, like if you just have a question, just give us a call. Like I have no problems answering any questions, or if you, and I wanted to also hit on one thing. You said something about companies may be nervous about, having downtime of, well, what if we're switching and now we don't have a processor and we've got downtime? That will never be the case. So we would never ask someone to leave their current processor until we have done a successful test transaction and everything has gone through, deposited into the bank account, everything online, everything is connected, looking good. Then we would take out, the other piece. So you would never have that downtime where it's like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Which makes the process so much easier because you still have your processor. Everything's still the exact same as it would be. Well, we do our work on the back end and we do all the legwork and the heavy lifting. You just keep doing your deal. And then once it's ready to go, you're up. And then we cancel with your old one. So it's a lot easier than what I think people imagine and maybe what people have gone through with other people. So if you do have a bad taste in your mouth and you're interested, even just a little slight bit, we can help out.
All right. Um, trying to think if there's any other questions that people might be interested in, or if you guys have any ideas that we missed something.
No, I think we hit it. I mean, it's just usually like we said a bunch of times is a lot of these companies think that they're in the right spot, but majority of the times they're paying a lot more than they should, and that's the start of it. Let's look, see what's really going on, and we do not there's no smoke and mirrors, there's no games. It's like, hey, this is what you're paying and this is what we could provide. But one added thing we did talk about, there's service, but there's also that last peace of mind. Some people don't switch just because of cost. It's literally, hey, I know I'm with the right people and I know things aren't going to ever go awry. So you put those three things in the equation for something that you have to have for your business. Why
Right.
wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you want to talk to normal people and versus India or
Right.
wherever else that you get routed to?
Yeah.
So
All right. And I see Paul is nervous that that I didn't ask that question, which I was going to get to. Paul,
what do you
relax,
say?
relax. He said, "How do we find them?" I'm like,
Ah,
that's the
Yeah,
closing statement, right? Like that's
I
the
added it
closing.
on with mine because we were panicking trying to just get on quickly, and so I don't even think that.
yeah. I mean, just you, this young lady next to me, give all your info, and that's how it all starts.
Right. What we mean by that is, where can people
Yeah,
find you?
find us like
Oh, like our
social,
Yeah,
websites and all that stuff.
like across social media, across the
social
webosphere,
media.
Got it. So our website is elite2apay.com.
which is pinned at the bottom.
Okay,
Everyone.
and then Instagram is elite2apay, right? Yeah, I think.
Yes, everything is elite. Everything's going to be elite to a pay. Instagram, well, I say everything. Instagram, and then our website is elite2apay.com. I have I'm working on getting a business page, so I do have a personal page that we're in now. So if you have any questions, feel free to DM me or whatever, and I can help out. But I'm still working on the business page for myself.
And we know you have fantastic pictures that you can use for that business page.
Yeah.
We know a guy.
Yeah,
We
we
know a
do.
guy. Yeah, I love my my email signature pick. All because of you, my man.
Yeah,
But yeah, there's what your email page T at elite2apay.com.
Is the Elite 2A
Yeah, that one's working. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Elite 2A, yeah, page T at elite2apay.com, and hopefully it goes through.
It does.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so it's 12:40. I guess I'll see you guys in 10 minutes at Meat Point for lunch.
Are we going?
I don't know. Do you want to? I haven't
Yeah,
had lunch yet.
I can meet you. I can meet you.
Let,
Well, yeah, I'll call you.
let me know. Let me
Yeah.
know. All right, guys. Well, thank you
All
very
right, bro.
much. I'm gonna get this posted. And anyone watching, if you call them, tell them the Pew Pew Jew sent you. And if you have any questions, you can reach Paige or Adam, or you can reach me, and I can send you in the right direction. So, guys, thank you. Oh yeah,
I
what's
have
that?
49 followers on my Instagram account, so if anyone wants to follow me, I don't do much.
Trying
But
to
it's
go
just
Insta famous.
I'm trying to get above 100 because no, I didn't really ever have one before, but I just make it a stupid joke. Sorry.
It's all good.
Yeah, I don't need it.
Trying to go IG famous. Thank you very much for having us. This was fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, if anyone has any questions, like I said, reach out to Paige, Adam, or you can reach out to me, and we will get you squared away and set up so that you can start saving money and not get screwed over by big bank and big business.
Yep.
So, all right, guys. I will
Thank you,
talk to you later.
sir. Appreciate
All
you,
right.
man.
Bye.
Later.
All
Bye.
right. Bye.